Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well today at this Friday. So, today we're going to talk about habits and neurodivergence habits and how it can improve our life and how we manage to do things. For ADHD people, it's always difficult to just do things and just know the priority to do those things. And sometimes when you have good habits, it helps you to always do the same steps every day or each week. So, like, normal persons when we's waking up is doing your coffees, brushing their teeth. But sometimes when you have ADHD or you have neurodivergence, you forget those little things. It just simply doesn't make it on your life routine because when you're neurodivergent, I'm talking about ADHD, sometimes very hard to just focus on things that are important to do versus which is not important to do. Like, I don't know, doing yoga. It's important, but I need to do I need to plan things accordingly. Like brushing my teeth is more important for my health right now than doing yoga. I need to do yoga, but I need to prioritize those things. And sometimes when you have ADHD, you have to, or you're neurodivergent, it's something very hard to do that. This is why I have this guest today. Robb Gilbear is going to help us figuring out habits and how habits can affect our life positively. So everybody applause for Robb Gilbear.
Hey,
Hello, how are you today?
very good. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Everybody, if you have any question for Robb at the end of the show, we like to simply answer some questions. So let's go for your question. We're going to go back to them like at the 10 minutes at the end of the show. We're going to check on that. So if you have any question, go for it. We'll be so happy to answer your questions. So Robb, please introduce yourself to the people that are watching you today.
Yeah, so my name is Robb Gilbear. I am a coach who helps entrepreneurs take their desire to want to make a difference, to want to have impact, and actually create businesses that grow, create businesses that so they can actually make money while making a difference. The best coaches that I work with are people who have been through things personally, have been through life experiences, and they're entrepreneurs. They want to help other people. They want to take their life experiences and make some kind of difference. But what makes someone an incredible coach, being able to hold space, ask questions, being able to see the possibility in someone else that they don't see, those aren't necessarily the skills you need to launch a business, to grow a business, to be able to do marketing in an authentic way, to be able to do sales in a way that feels genuine. So those are the people that I help.
So my first question, because sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. What's the difference between a routine and a habit?
Ooh, very good question. I don't know that I have a really good answer for that. I think a habit, in my definition, is something that really is automated. You just do it without even thinking. It is on autopilot. And a routine is something that you do. Maybe it's a set of things that you do together as part of like a collection of habits, but it might not be as subconsciously embedded as a habit is. For me, a habit really is automatic. Everyone has habits. Anyone watching this, everyone has habits. The only difference is, are they habits that you've intentionally created, that you've intentionally implemented, or are they habits that are just there, that are just guiding your life without you having much intention behind them?
So what's the first step if I decide to do an habit? I want to have something as an habit, like doing yoga every morning. I'm giving an example. What will be the starting point for me to have this habit? Because I know it's not going to be a clap of a hand to do it every morning. I need to do some step, and I have to have the good mindset to do it. What will you say to that person?
So a lot of times when people think about habits, they think it is all about willpower. And people think like, I just have to be better. I just have to be stronger. I just have to have more willpower. Like it's a forcing thing. Versus the best thing that you can do is to actually make it easier for yourself. You want to curate your environment. You want to set things up so that it highly encourages it. One of the things might be is that you have your yoga mat out right there. So when you get up in the morning, it's there. Maybe if you're doing yoga outside of the house, or even if you're doing yoga online, you make a date with a friend. You make an agreement with a friend. We're going to do it together. That creates an accountability so that you're more likely to do it. And, when you have the good intention the night before, the day before, and you're thinking like, oh, I want to do this, is something I want to do, then take steps to make it easier for later. And then the reverse true is too, because let's say you want to do yoga, but you don't do yoga. I would ask you, what is something that you'd end up doing instead? And maybe it's sleeping in, or maybe it's picking up your phone, or whatever those things are. Then you need to do the reverse and make it difficult for you to sleep in, to make it not rewarding for you to pick up your phone, to, your phone is in the other room. You make sure you go to bed at an early time, other things as well, so that you're making it easier to do the yoga and harder to do the things that you don't want to do.
So if I give an example, because like, ADHD is a lot about dopamine and the reward system, So when you start a new habit, even if it's not necessarily fun, like brushing your teeth, but you need to do it for your health. If you don't brush your teeth, you have a problem, Yeah. So what will you, I'm giving the example of the tea, but the brushing my teeth, but it could be cleaning too, or washing the bathroom every week. It can be something that's boring and you hate doing it, but to have a nice environment and feel happy about your house, you need to do it naturally. So what will you say to that person that wants to do that, but they need a reward after that? Because just having a house clean is not enough, for me to do it.
So you can create your own dopamine hits. And I love that you're asking this. It could be, for some people, just as easy as just cheering aloud and saying yes, or that you're gonna play your favorite song, or that there could be anything. For me, when I was starting my morning routine and wanted to make that as a habit, I made a checklist on the wall. And as simple, as almost stupid as it sounds, like getting to do this and check felt so rewarding, and it gave me a dopamine hit. So yeah, choose rewards. You can give yourself some kind of, you treat yourself to something to eat that you like. You're going to take yourself out on a date. You're going to whatever, but it can be a small thing though too. It really can be as little as a cheer or a song that makes you happy.
So what is the main thing that changed in your life when you decide to have a routine of habits? Because it's mainly that you do it every day, that morning routine, I guess. What changed the best for you?
Prior to me really taking a habits first mindset or habits first approach, I had periods of success. And I had things where would do well for a while and then they didn't. Or something would do good and then it didn't. And I was very inconsistent. It was very up and down. And at the time I was working at a job and I was paid well and I didn't think I could get out. I knew I wanted to do more. I knew I wanted to go back to do something entrepreneurial, but I didn't see how it was possible. And then I started adapting a habits first approach where I created a routine. Like I said, I had a checklist. I was sharing it publicly on Instagram. So I had this public accountability. And then it increased my energy, my focus, my self-belief, like my confidence and my clarity. And having those things compound is what allowed me to be able to confidently quit my job and start Growth Habit and go on this path that I am now. And it's taking the habits first approach. It's, if I'm talking to an entrepreneur and they say, well, I want to make 6 figures. I want to sign 20 clients in this quarter. I want to, whatever that is. Cool. Okay. That sounds fun. How do we break it down? If you want that, then what are you going to do every day? What are you going to do every month? And what are you going to do every week and every month, so that it builds up to that? Because you're not just going to get, you're not just going to magically hit 6 figures or magically find 20 new clients. It means every day, you're showing up online, you're putting out content, maybe you're starting conversations with people, you're doing activities which lead to conversations, which lead to clients, which leads to sales.
So if I give you another example, because habits are not necessarily always good, you have those bad habits that arrive in your life that you do for years. I don't know, I'm giving you an example, like drinking your glass of wine every night because it feels you good, but for your body it's not good to drink wine every day. But I know that it's not me, but if I stop doing that, I will feel very good about myself. So what should I do if I was in that situation that I need to drink every night? It cannot be necessarily alcoholic, bad alcoholic. I mean, it's a little bit alcoholic, yes, but I mean, it's not going to kill you to drink 1 glass of wine, but I still want to change that up because it costs a lot of money. It's not good for my body. But how should I stop it? Because I know that if I do it tomorrow, it won't work like that. I will maybe be able to do it one night, but after I'm going to go back to that schema, and it's not good. What should you consider?
Okay, so I want to give you like some tactical things, and then I want to talk bigger about identity. So tactical stuff, it goes back to the decision to not drink wine isn't made this evening when the wine is already in the fridge. It's too late. The decision to not drink wine is made when you're at the store the day before or the week before. You don't buy the wine. I have a client that I'm working with right now. They're an entrepreneur. They're a successful entrepreneur. Their office is in the basement of their house. And their problem, the bad habit they wanted to get rid of was smoking weed. They were taking weed breaks during the day where they would go outside and have a puff, and then it would derail their day or distract their day. I got them to just start keeping their weed in the top floor of their house. And just having the fact that they're in the basement, they would have to go to the ground floor, then go to the top floor. They have gone from smoking 5 times a day to 1 or less times a day, just because it's harder to get to. And then on that, the next step would be not to buy it, not to have it in the house. The other piece of that, though, is identity. And you can do this stuff to optimize your environment, to create accountability, to give yourself the dopamine hit, to create the rewards, all of that. You can, get a lockbox to put so your phone is away in a lockbox. There's all these things. But if you in your mind believe that you are a certain kind of person and your self-talk is you are this kind of person, then the moment that you're tired, you maybe get in a fight with your partner, or you have a rough day, then you're just going to fall back to it because you're going to say to yourself, oh, I've always been that way. For me, one of the lies I used to tell myself was that I was weak and I wasn't physically strong, that I wasn't good at sports. And it meant that, even if I tried to get into the habits of exercising or working out, or even if I tried to, it'd get to a point where it would be tough for whatever reason. And then my little voice would be like, yeah, but you've always been weak, so it's okay. And then you're like perpetuating that lie. So you need to change that. And then once you change that identity, because right now you see yourself, that's the reason why, when you see yourself like, but I drink every day, that's who I am. I've been doing it for X amount of years, and that's what my mom did, my aunt, whatever. Like you believe yourself to be that person. You need to change that, and then it makes the tactics and the strategies easier.
So it's also, like you say, about belief, because when you were a child, you start believing things, and you see your parent doing such a thing, like when they wake up at certain hours, so you think it's normal. I'm just giving an example. This is not a bad habit to wake up at 7:30. I'm just giving an example. But how can you? It's a little bit like religion. I'm not going to talk about religion, but it's a little bit like that. You have those things that you were taught when you were a kid. But now you decide you want to stop doing it because you realize it's not good. Like, I can give you an example, like eating junk because your parent gave you junk when you were a kid, or make you drink Coca-Cola every night. I'm giving you as an example like that. How can you break that kind of habit that were there all your life? I mean, drinking Coca-Cola at 5 and now you're 30, and you always did this because your parent gave you Coca-Cola almost in your bottle when you were a kid.
So I love this example because, not that we're talking about religion specifically, but you brought it up. But it's really interesting that when it comes to something like religion, it's geographically defined. It's, by a certain, maybe within a certain area of a province or a certain part of the world, that everyone in this area miraculously believes in one kind of God or whatever versus the other. But if you walk 20 kilometers in a direction and cross a border, all of a sudden everyone is the other way. So it's indoctrination. It's tribal. It's the pressure of the community. And it is one of the harder things. And that's why that quote is so popular. You are the average of the 5 spend the most amount of time with, because it normalizes certain behavior. Yeah, and if it's, let's just say it's the Coca-Cola one, because that's maybe a little less dicey than the religion one. Yeah. So it's Coca-Cola. So it's your parents have always drank Coca-Cola, your brothers and sisters drank Coca-Cola. When you were a kid, it was always there, and you're used to doing it. So that's something that you normalize. You need to, it's tough, but you need to break who you're spending time with. You need to change who you're surrounding yourself with. You need to start surrounding yourself with it's a really great shortcut. It's a really great shortcut, because if you start spending time who are eating healthy and not eating junk or whatever, it changes things quickly. And that this is funny, because I'm thinking about religion and Coca-Cola and how different they are. But it would be the same thing. You almost have to talk with your parents. Like, hey, I know you have always done this. I know I know you don't believe Coca-Cola is bad. I know it's just been healthy. I'm different. I'm changing. I need your support. I need you to understand this. And if, obviously you're not going to stop talking to your parents because you want to stop drinking Coca-Cola, but you need to have a very frank and open conversation with them.
Yeah, but that can be difficult because it can lead to rejection because they believe in Coca-Cola so much. I'm giving again the religion thing, but I'm talking about Coca-Cola just to not put a discussion about that too much on the chat. But how will you deal with that if your family reject you because you don't want to drink Coca-Cola anymore? Because
that's a decision, and that's the tough thing, right? Like you or I can't tell anyone what to do, but it's a decision. And with the Coca-Cola one, it's like, okay, so it's hard. You have to have that talk to your parents. You might deal with rejection. But you know what's harder than that? Diabetes is a lot harder than that.
Yeah.
Diabetes is a lot harder than having a difficult conversation with your parents about Coca-Cola. So it's a choice you have to make. And I have a few different clients who I worked with who had parents who had a certain way and certain expectations. And it's not religion, but it's the same kind of thing. It's like cultural pressure. Mm-hmm. Like cultural pressure, like this is the way we are, this is the way we do, this is polite, this is normal, and reinforcing that. And they just got to a point where they had to say, I'm changing. And it's like they were the ones who created not the rejection, but they created the distance. And it's just a matter of decision. And that's why I can't tell people to do that. You didn't, but these people I know that I have worked with, for them, it was like, I love you and I'm not judging you and you've led your life. I am deciding a different path for me. And it's really interesting because before, like not like 100 years ago, not even that long, if my dad was a baker, I would probably be a baker. If your mom, had a business where she, raised dogs, you would probably work raising dogs. If your parents had a farm, you'd probably work on the farm. Like it was really reinforced. But it's a personal decision. And it's tough conversations, but you have to think about the impact short or long term. And with the family, sorry, I'm rambling a bit here. What is the cost long term of you just listening to your parents? What's the cost long term of you just living their life? What's the cost of you not pursuing your dreams? What's the cost of you not pursuing your desires? Difficult conversation. That's hard. I think the other one is harder though. That's my perspective.
So if we're going back to business, because you're coaching people that are entrepreneur, what will you say to somebody that are a very hard time? It's a little bit me at the same time. I'm a little bit like that. I know that I'm not the only one to be like that. My business is at home. How can you put your personal habit versus business habit when you are living in the same place for both of them? How can you this is business, this is home. How can you just put this in the right place,
It's a really good question, and I think it's something that a lot of people were challenged with, especially the last year and a half with what we saw with the pandemic. And it's around creating rituals that go with it a certain way. So for example, I have this office now. It's beautiful. I love it. It's an 8-minute walk from my house. I have separation now, but I only got this office in September. So for 6 months last year, my office was a pull-down desk in our bedroom at home. So, and the chair was in the closet. But so it's like, that's where we sleep. There's folding laundry. It was just a lot. Excuse me, but it was creating a ritual where it was opening the office where, okay, now the day's starting and I open, the desk comes down off the wall and I pull the chair out and I started a sequence. It was almost like a ritual. And then, okay, now I'm in work mode. To just try it, it's a matter of creating, routines or habits. And for you, I don't know, if anywhere you can create a corner. You don't have to, can you have it in the corner of the bedroom? Can you have it in the corner of the living room? Can you do something that, even if it's just like blocking off a little bit of space, that space has a different association. You associate different thoughts, feelings, and memories with it.
It's true, because now, before I was using my computer for fun things too, but I decided to use it only for work. But there's still distraction. I mean, my bed is just there. If I want to go because I'm tired, I can go and sleep there if I want. Or I don't know, I hear my roommate that's walking down in the kitchen. It's hard sometimes with distraction to stay focused on the same work, not necessarily in the same work, but to put yourself in work mode sometimes it's very hard, even if you have the good idea, a good habit to sit down at a certain hour to do your work. How can you get out of those distractions? Like you just say, you have laundry there how you can put your mind not do that laundry because you just see it, it's just there in your face.
It's hard. That's why when I was having my office at home, it really was this routine. And the first thing was making the bed. And then once the bed was made, I'm not going to go get in it because the bed was made. If there's things like laundry, that's out of sight. Once the chair comes out and the desk comes down. And the other thing that I did, which I still do now, is I put headphones in and I'll put a song on repeat. Something that doesn't have words, that's not distracting. And it creates like a focus zone that it means I don't hear the kids going up and down the stairs. I don't hear the neighbor's baby. I don't hear the other stuff, and it creates a little focus bubble.
So yeah, that should be very nice to say. But what do you say to your clients? The first thing you say to your clients that want to change those habits, because like I said, you have bad habits right now. Yeah, before you make new good habits, you have to kill some of the bad habits. So how you start to do that? Because you need to kill the habits to have good habits, because it just makes sense, right?
Well, they go hand in hand. It depends. So it's back to, how do we make it difficult? How do we make it difficult to do that? How do we make it the opposite of rewarding? So instead of being dopamine, there's a drain from it. Because a lot of times if you have a bad habit that you continue to do, even if you know long-term it's unhealthy, even if you know long-term it's bad for you, in the immediate moment, there's probably some reward. So finding out what that reward is, removing that reward. For some people, it's creating a painful accountability. There's one of my clients, he has a commitment with a friend that he's going to do X amount of hours of work per week. And if he doesn't, he has to pay that person $50.
Oh.
Because once you create, then it's what I call a forcing function. It helps force the behavior that you want. One of the things that I used to do pre-pandemic is I would fully charge my laptop, because I would be at home, that's around, and then I'm on YouTube, and then whatever. And then I've tried different things where like putting up a web blocker. So now I put up a web blocker. Sometimes I delete the apps off my phone. I fully delete the apps off my phone, or I leave the phone in the other room. But something I used to do is fully charge my laptop and then go to the coffee shop without my charger. And I knew that I had a limited amount of time, and I'm a lot less likely to waste once I'm there. Something else I've done before too is book a hotel room for a couple days. And I'm paying to be there. I'm not going to waste that money. So I would get so much done. I'm doing it next week, actually. I'm working on the first draft of my book. From Monday to Sunday next week, I'm in a hotel because I need to finish the first draft of my book by the end of this month. And I know that going there, away from the distractions like we've talked about, but also I'm paying to be there. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to mess around on YouTube or on Reddit.
No, it's true. But you need to put, yeah, but sometimes it's easy to just say, oh, I'm going to do it 5 minutes just because I want to do it 5 minutes, because I want to see if my wife, whatever, wants to talk to me or want to say something. How can you put your family to contribution to leave you work? Because I know when you have a family, you have a wife or a husband, sometimes they want you to do something. They want to give you their list to do too, like, you're going to have to do the dishes because I did it yesterday. You know, how can you do compromise with your relationship to make your good habit works? Because I know sometimes it's easy, and it's harder. I want to say mainly if that wife or husband is working at home too because of the pandemic.
Yes, it's very hard. So 2 things come to mind hearing you say that. As one is, it comes down to communication, and again, talking about, like we're talking about earlier, like the difficult conversation with the parents, or having your own life and choosing what you want to do with your life. You know, avoiding the Coca-Cola now and talking about that so you don't get diabetes. So it's about, hey, I know there's things around the house. I want to help out. I want to be contributing, but I need to be making money. We need me to be making money. We need my business to be making money. And if for that to happen, I need to, you know, only do the dishes every other day. I need you to help with the laundry, right? So it's the conversation, and the other piece then it's time blocking. So something else, I have a list of things like don't forget kind of list, but it's not a to-do list. I don't work off of a to-do list. I work off of my schedule. And every day I say, okay, there's 2 or 3 things I really need to do today. I have them in my schedule. And I block time. And when I was working at home, because I went through these struggles at the pandemic at first, and that's why I figured out my routine of like opening the office and how I joked about. And then I blocked time. So it was like, okay, this time is only on work stuff. and then maybe from like 4 to 6 I did housework or whatever it was, and having it in chunks. Because if it's interruptions, if it's like, okay, 30 minutes work, then do the dishes, then an hour work, then maybe the laundry, then you never get into any flow.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm giving you an example. I have ADHD, so I need a lot of breaks because my brain just wants to stop because it's tired.
Yeah.
I cannot work more than an hour in a row because I'm going to be too tired, and I'm not going to be productive. It's not good if I'm not productive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what will you suggest to somebody that needs a lot of breaks but still needs to have stuff to do? Because, I need to make money too. People with ADHD needs to make money too. So what will you suggest to somebody that needs to do a lot of blocks of hours of things, and at the same time, instead of simply doing nothing when in my 30-minute break, I should do something else? How should I combine these things to my productivity?
Sure. Well, part I was going to ask is like, how long do the breaks need to be? And then the difference between things in your break that are helpful, that are, fueling you up, that are helping your mind, that are helping you think, that are helping you concentrate, versus things that are distractions. Because, this thing is incredible because it's magic. That's because of this. And the internet is how I have clients in 6 countries. It's how you and I know each other. It's how I've been able to launch my business. But this is also terrible because if you don't turn off your notifications, and if you don't have this intentionally somewhere else, this will interrupt you all the time nonstop. So if when you're saying, okay, you need a break, cool. But if your break is you pick this up and then you just go on Instagram or TikTok or something, that's not helpful. But if you're saying you're going to take a break, and on that break, you're going to go for a walk, you're going to read your book, or you are going to do the dishes, which is fine. Those things aren't draining you or really throwing you off the path. And even with the dishes one, that's a pretty repetitive task. You could be working on something and then you need to take a break, and then you go do the dishes and you're still thinking about that work thing. You're like, how could I fix that? How might I solve that? So that it's still helping you and you're still doing what you need to be doing, which is the dishes. Which
I find for me is because I have my own tips sometimes to make me do things because I cannot just do nothing, What helped me to do tasks that are like, I'm going to say tasks that I hate the most, like washing a toilet. I'm giving you an example. It's like it could be dishes or anything. I put an audio book not on a novel, but on a real book when you learn some stuff, Now I'm reading a book about neurodivergence that I really like, Divergent's Mind, on Audible, which I really love because it talks about women with the neurodivergency. So it's very cool. So I think it's easier for me to do that task when I have something more fun on the side. And when somebody read me a story, I don't need that as much concentration than reading the words, So this really helps me a lot. And the other things that helps me a lot too before bed, because I will scroll my phone until 2 in the a.m. if I'm not careful. What I'm doing is at 11, my screen turns gray and white. You have that option, so it's not as fun to watch video on a black and white screen, right? So it's helping me a lot to say, oh, okay, now it's time to just go away and sleep, So what's your best tips to manage social media? Because you need social media. We wouldn't know each other if there was not linking, It's important. We are in social media now talking. People are now taking time on the phone now or on the computer to listen to us. So how can you deal with, yes, I need social media, and at the same time, don't overuse it? What's your tip about that?
So it's a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about so far. Something that worked for me before was moving the apps into a separate folder and having to go through that step of like just going to go and click. In the habit too of like when I'm done with it, I'm using it. Like it's not just there. I close the app, turning off almost all the notifications to my home screen, like text messages and the chat app that my one-on-one clients have access to me to are the only things that come to my home screen on my phone. There's no other notifications. I take breaks weekly where I log out, and sometimes it's only 3 hours once a month. It tends to be for a full weekend where, again, I'm deleting apps, where I'm completely unplugging the stuff like you talked about, like changing the settings so that I love the going black and white screen, because that's a perfect example I said earlier, because mailing at midday, it was like thinking, okay, I don't want to be up late again on my phone, because when I do that, I don't sleep well, and then it ruins the whole next day. So you had that good intention. You changed it when you had the thought earlier in the day. So then when 11, it just happened automatically. And now that's what your phone does every day. So it's about making those intentional changes that way. But the other thing, the habit I'm into is checking things periodically. Actually, and speaking of notifications, I have no notifications on for any of the social media apps. If I don't go into the app, I have no notifications coming outside of the app to me. So it's not creating a carrot, and there's not like a line trying to suck me back into it. And then as simple as like leaving it in the other place. Like it's here with me right now because I was just chatting with a client before we talked. But often when I'm doing these streams or I'm chatting with someone else, it's on the other end of the room. Sometimes I'll go hide underneath the couch cushion. Like I'll go as far as I physically can from me. And at my house, it means it's on a different floor.
Another thing that I changed, because a lot of people do it. I did it for a long time. I actually admit that I still have my notification on my phone. But the problem, I had my notification on my watch, and that was the worst. I left my phone somewhere just to have peace, and I have all my notifications come in. It's like doesn't do anything. So when I brought this new phone, I decided, okay, this phone, I'm not going to put any notification on my watch. I'm not going to do it at all. And I'm so pleased now to just putting my phone there. I have no notification. I feel liberated because we are so much connected. That's not very good for the mind, because you always been remember that a client is writing to you now. They want a response, and it gives me so much anxiety because when I see the client pop up, I say I need to respond now. It's important. I need to respond, but at the same time, it's not. If you respond in 2 hours, it's okay too. It's not necessarily to be in rush to respond to that client because it gives you money. That client can wait 2 hours. It's okay. You need to also give the responsibility to yourself to say, I'm working this time to this time. After the client responds, you're just gonna wait till tomorrow. And you have to also understand that we are clients too, and we do understand that, or the person that we're working with is not going to respond right away. It's normal. So, but sometimes you're so stressed, you're scared to lose that client because you're waiting 2 hours. So how do you deal with the anxiety when you start to get away with your phone and accept that the client needs to wait for my mental state,
A few things. One, the expectations start the moment you start working with someone. So if you're taking on a new client, and when you start working with that client, if they're used to you responding in like 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, then you're setting the expectations. So set that up at the start. Well, like when I start working with someone, I often say to them, hey, if you're messaging me on these platforms, I have all my notifications off. It often will take me hours to get back to you. Like I say that to people up front. And I think the other thing too is you're thinking about that anxiety, like, oh, what if I lose that client? For me, the question is, well, what if you are constantly interrupted and distracted and don't get to do deep work, and then the quality of work you're going to deliver to those clients is going to be bad. The length of time it's going to take you to get the work to them is going to take longer. Your ability to improve and iterate on your business is going to be diminished, which that's going to negatively affect. So those things are way more impactful in a negative way than making someone wait for 2 hours. And the other piece is back to checking at certain times and turning notifications off, because if you see it there and you're like, oh, I'm not going to respond right away, that doesn't work. Because your mind every 30 seconds responds like, oh, that client, oh, don't forget, oh, that client. So that's why it's important, because the moment that you see it, even if you're like, no, I'm not going to do it now, it's still messing with you. So not seeing it, turn the notifications off, being intentional when you go to look, so that you can have that free space. And then when you're like, okay, I check at noon or whatever, you go and you check. When you check, you're like, you have time to respond because you've created that this is when you are responding.
Yeah, and that can be hard when you're used to respond 2 seconds. And yeah, sometimes it gives me a lot of problem with some clients, because at the beginning I was responding all the time, and after I wanted to do the work, and they're always writing to me, and I feel forced to always give that same service before they pay me, and versus after they did pay me, you want to give that same that same service, but at the same time, you need, so the best thing is to make them wait a little bit longer at the beginning, and that can mess you up at the same time.
Or just have a conversation with them. So I agree. It starts at the beginning. It's like the same thing. Whether, and we're talking about as an entrepreneur, it applies the same as you're starting a new job somewhere. You start a new job somewhere, you want to make a great impression, you want to be very responsive, you want to be that you're on it, but that stops you from doing what you're actually paid for. And like some jobs, if you're in customer service, maybe there's like your job really is about instant responsiveness, but for most jobs, you're not being paid to respond to email. That's not what you're really being paid for. It's for the actual work. So there's the training them, if you will, at the beginning, but even still, let's say with these people, let's say you've got 5 clients right now, and at first, when they first started speaking to Melly, you responded like this, and now you're trying to give space to do the work. Tell them. Just say, hey, when we first started talking, I responded really quickly, and I know you're used to that, but now I need to do the work for you, and I want to make sure the quality of work is good, and I want to do a great job. To do that, it means that I'm only checking my phone at 9 a.m., 11 and 2, or whatever it is. Like, tell them, or I might go a couple hours. Just let them know. Like most things, if you just let them know, and especially because it has a good reason, most people, any reasonable person would understand.
So this is not really about habit, but it is at the same time. How can you give you some space? I mean, I don't know if you work weekends, but if you decide I want Sunday always off, I don't want to respond to anyone Sundays. I'm giving you that idea. How can you make yourself in the mindset? It's not about responding to the client. It's just not working at home because you need a break, because your mental state needs to not work. You know, normal people that have a job or are going to work 5 days a week. I know I'm an entrepreneur. I cannot do this because I need to focus on my business. And when you have a business, you cannot work like this way. But one day you want to have at least 1 day break, because you need to just take care of yourself to be able to work all the week. So what is your tips about that, to accept that you need your Sunday off? I'm giving an idea. It can be Monday, it can be Tuesday, it can be any time. A day that you won't be off forever, never work that day.
Okay, you talked about it a little bit, but I want you to say clearly, why do you want Sundays off? Why is that important to you?
Because I need to recharge my batteries, because I'm tired and I need to just be with my family and my friends. I want a day when I can go out and get a beer. Giving an example, and the next morning I don't need to work because I'm too tired because I had too much fun. I'm giving you an idea like that.
Okay, why is that important? Why is that important for you to be able to do that?
Because I need to just give myself a break. It's mostly like that. I need to focus about other things, because I have ADHD and I always think about 10,000 things at the same time, and sometimes it's very overwhelming. It's very tiring to think about so many things at the same time. So that's why I need a break, to just being able to relax. And even if I relax, I'm still going to think about something else, maybe not my business, but I'm always going to have ideas and think. But at the same time, I need to shut down, or at least as much as possible, just to have good mental health, because it's very important, etc.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 more questions on this line. If you do that, and if you take the time and you shut down and you refuel and you spend time with family and you give yourself that mental break, how does that affect your work?
It does affect my work better, because I guess I did recharge my batteries, so I'm more focused now because I had the time to have a break or just watch a series, because I wanted to do it for so long, but I felt myself forced to work because I have some work to do. And at the same time, I'm scared of just having client disappointed because I'm not working that day. I'm giving an example. Normally, people understand the Sunday. I'm giving you an example, but so yeah, I want to just recharge and to be able to wake up at the Monday and be, yoo-hoo, we're going to work now. It's going to be fun. I'm going to change my website. I'm going to do prospection. I'm just going to enjoy what I do, or or finding some guests for my show on Friday, writing my podcast and stuff like that, or doing website. If I have a client for website too, it can be all that,
Okay, so if you take the time off on Sunday and you give yourself that permission, you actually do it, it makes you better at your work, it makes you more focused, you deliver better quality work, and it fuels you with energy and ideas about how you can improve your business and really move things forward and make a positive difference.
Yeah.
Then why are we talking about why it's just, that's it, that's the permission. So when you're thinking about Sunday, instead of being like, oh, the guilt and what have I let them down, it's no, I'm going to do better work. I'm going to be able to make my clients happier. I'm going to be more focused. I'm going to have more enthusiasm. I'm going to get more done in a shorter period of time. The quality of work I'm going to deliver is better. My clients will actually be better. I will be better. Everything is better.
Yeah, it's mainly about the guilt, yeah, because you feel guilty to not respond to that client, you know, because you're used to have a good service yourself, so you want to give that good service. Mainly when you're starting a new business, like I started my podcast and my TV show, I want people that are listening to me to enjoy what I'm saying right now, you know. So I want them to be happy to be there. I want my guests like you. I want you to have a good experience when you're talking to me. You know, I don't want after you quit your camera, you're like, what the heck I just did now? Yeah, I don't want that. I want you to be happy too.
So what could you say to your clients about Sundays then? What message could you send to your clients about Sundays?
I don't know. I'm off, I guess.
No, honestly, it's back to the same thing earlier. It's the guilt diminishes if you let them know. If you sent all of your clients, you know, a message next week saying, you know, starting going forward on Sundays, I'm taking Sundays off, which means I'm not going to be checking emails, I'm not going to be responding. And then again, give the why and don't make it about, you know, they will, and most people will understand. You would need to explain. But if you also explain, this is going to give me more energy, more focus, allow me to deliver better quality work, and actually allow me to help you better, and people will say yes to that. Like,
I hope so.
Yeah, and if you find yourself with any current clients who don't, then I would encourage you that going forward, your business evolves so that you only start taking on clients who understand that.
Yeah, it's true. So I was wondering, do you have something you want to share to my community? Anything that I didn't talk about or you think is important, but I didn't have the idea of asking you or something like that? What would you say more if I'm giving you a free range right now? You say whatever you want.
Right. So we talked about a whole bunch of different stuff. We talked about habits and focus and guilt around clients and giving yourself permission to take time off. But we talked mostly about habits. And there's two small habit tips that are really important that I think I want to kind of end on. And one is that habits are like votes. You don't need all of the votes to win an election. You just need most of the votes. So yes, the goal is to make it automatic. The goal is to make it so that you do it every day or whatever it is. But if you miss a day, it's okay. Don't, it's not worth you spending time guilting, beating yourself or whatever. What you don't want to do is to miss 2 days in a row. Because if you miss 2 days in a row, then you're creating a new habit, and the new habit is of not doing it. So, if your goal is to do yoga every morning, but you miss tomorrow morning because you didn't sleep well, because there was a car accident outside and it was loud, who knows, whatever. The air conditioner broke. It could be all these different reasons. Shit happens. Life happens. That's okay. Just you don't miss it again on Sunday. And the other thing I want to say too is just taking a pause. Let's say that you talked earlier about bad habits, and that's something, like how do you not do bad habits? There's often a moment where you're like, ooh, I'd love some chips. But I said I didn't want to eat chips, right? Like there's that pause. Don't say no to yourself. Say, in 10 minutes. I will in 10 minutes. If I still feel like it in 10 minutes, I will. With social media, you're looking at your phone, you're like, oh, actually, no, I want to focus on this. Don't say no. Don't get into like, no, just say, not now, I'll wait 10 minutes. And in saying you'll wait 10 minutes, creating that pause is enough most of the time to get you to not do it, because 10 minutes passes, you go back to something else, you start working, whatever, and then you forget about it. And then once you've not done it for 10 minutes, you're like, yeah, why would I do it now? I've managed not to. So the intention saying not right now and I will in 10 minutes is enough to help you through the bad habits.
So I'm going to add, we got some comments all around the episode. So if you have any question, everybody that are watching us now, you can just ask those questions. But now I'm going to just see the comment that you that you send through the show. So if you have any question, go for it. We're going to be there to respond to you. So I'm going to start checking out.
Andrew.
Hello.
Ça va, monsieur?
Bonjour, bonjour.
Do you know Andrew? Do you know he speaks French?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, he's great. He's good people.
I love checking things on my to-do list. I do too, actually. It's giving me a lot of reward to do. Yeah, I did something. And even if I will add that, even if I had a bad day or I didn't do anything, a lot of things that day, I focused on the thing that I did. I didn't sleep all day, so it was a miracle. I have to say that to myself. It was a miracle. So Carole Roberge too is another Québécois, I think.
Salut, Carole.
I think she's French. I'm not sure. Where are you from, Carole?
Definitely a very French name. Si elle parle pas français, je serais surpris.
C'est sûr que oui.
Yeah, it's it. We live in the era of distraction, so it's about creating intentionality. So either you will be at the mercy and the victim of the distractions, or you create your environment. You know, you do the black and white screen thing that Melly's talking about. You turn off the notifications. You put your phone in the other room. Either you create it a way where you're making it intentional. For example, my laptop, I use a thing called Block Site, where I have a bunch of websites that are time waster websites that are on there. And it's funny because sometimes out of habit, I find myself pulling it up. And if I do, then it's either like a grandmother who's grimacing. She's like, not this time, honey. And it creates the environment for me to do what I want to be doing.
I just want to say something that I discovered a couple of months before. It's an app on Android. I think it's also on iPhone. I'm not sure. But it's called Fabulous. You can easily put some habits on it. It's in French, I'm sorry. But you can put some habits like today, and you just check it out when it's done. So you can be like brushing my teeth in the morning because I have difficulty to do that. I'm giving an example. Or simply dress up at a certain time or doing my yoga. You just check it out. So it's very visual, and each day they give you a new tips on what you should do to improve your habits. So I think this is a nice app. I'm not sponsoring anyone. It's a paid app, unfortunately, but it's like $50 a year. So I think it's a nice investment if you want to try doing habits for yourself. I just started doing it again, and I think it helps. So if you want to check it out, it's 7-day free. So I'm just saying that. I think on my post, I've tagged them because I've seen an image this morning that I post, and I found it very real because it's true. You have things that you can change by yourself too. You cannot decide how much money you can decide, but not right away how much money you're going to have in your bank account. But you can decide how you're going to feel today. You're going to have positive attitude and stuff like that. You can change, but you cannot necessarily change some having a car accident that day. You cannot choose this, but you can decide to be happy that day or just focusing on good things too. So Andrew here says nature time. Yeah, I'm living in Montreal, so I have to admit nature time is a little bit harder for me because I'm not around the nature at all. I have Mont Royal, but this is not really nature. But still, just taking a walk on the street or going to the Mont Royal, why not, is better than nothing. You know, it really helps just doing some exercise. Or what I try to do is every night to go take a walk. I have to admit it's very hard right now because we're in a heat wave and it's so hot outside. It's almost dying, so it's very hard sometimes to focus that. Anyway, I'm going to say the same thing about winter is too cold, and now it's the same thing.
You can't have it both ways. I'm just noticing the time. I do have a client call in a couple minutes, so I do have to wrap up your show.
Okay, no worry. So I'm just going to do this fast. Yes, great tip. Thank you very much. So do you have any question, anybody? So no one has any question. So we're going to leave you now. So I hope you have and you like the show today. And if you have any question in the future, just post it down the video. We are going to be, just tag us. We're going to be there to respond when we have time to do so. Like we said, we have priorities now to do. So, so if you have so I hope you're having a nice day, and I'll see you next Friday. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.